Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to Telling Tales. Welcome to Symbaroum. It's Wednesday night. Of course, we're playing Symbaroum. What else would we be doing? What else would you be watching? Nothing. The entire population of the globe is hooked up to Twitch or YouTube to watch us. Don't let the viewer count lie to you. It's just missing several zeros. Okay. Let me get through the blurb before I go on to the usual introductions of stuff. If you check below the video, there's a bunch of links. There's links to our Discord, our social media, our various channels, our merch page, our Patreon, all the things you might expect for a channel like ours. Check them out if you're interested. We run a number of weekly campaigns. And fortnightly campaigns at the moment. Mondays is alternating between Warhammer and We Deal in Lead, but soon they will give way to a weekly campaign once more with Call of Cthulhu. Johnny will be taking the Monday crew through the entirety of Masks of Nyarlathotep. I'm sure that will take a few weeks, probably a month or so, maybe. That's probably it. Wednesdays is Symbaroum, that's this. And Thursdays is currently fortnightly Yellow King. We're playing the second episode of that tomorrow. It was going to be last week, but rescheduled due to illness. I said injury, which would be kind of weird. But we're doing that second episode tomorrow. And then that will be alternating actually shortly with our first recorded series that we've done. So it won't be. It'll be streamed, but it won't be live. And that is Steve running some Delta Green, which I recorded quite a while ago. And we've been looking for an opportunity to insert it into the schedule in a manner in which it can be seen and appreciated by everyone. So yeah, there we go. Let's start bringing on the players, and those players will start giving some recaps over last week, and we're going to start this week with good old Sam. Sam plays Askarai, changeling, ranger, scout, archer, and all-around sneaky and sighty guy. Yeah, that's what's on his Twitter bio. Sam, why don't you give us a quick rundown of the story so far for what's bred in the bone?
So this follows on from a big long campaign where we got in a lot of trouble, but vaguely escaped it. And so we started off this bit of the story kind of laying low, doing a bit of guard work for an old church contact of ours called Disaber, the Lightbringer, kind of like a saintly figure within the church. We went through a few towns, kind of doing a bit of what church people do, and eventually made our way. Oh God, I forgot the name of the town where we are.
It's Ravenna.
Ravenna. We made our way to Ravenna. And it quickly became clear that this was like the intended target of our little tour all along. The Disaber had some information from a priest here called Umbardo about something was going on, not exactly clear what it was. And we were here basically to check it out. But as soon as we arrived, we found out that Umbardo was dead. He had been burnt alive along with the High Theurg of Ravenna, as well as a kind of witch from the Carrot clan who lived more in the outskirts of the town. Seems like we've done a bit of investigating, and basically it seems like these are somehow related. We're not sure exactly how. We know that the guard have been kind of made to stop investigating it. We know that Umbardo had close ties with the Duke Inadar, and we know that this witch has been involved with Umbardo, that sort of stuff. And we've done some investigating, and basically it led us to this church of not Prios, of other gods.
Yeah, the Chapel of the Many.
Chapel of the Many, where we were led to meet a person that we know the priest, I think Yama, met. A green weaver, not a green seer. And basically, as we were talking to this person, the Black Cloaks invaded or attacked this church, and we had a big fight with them. They killed a lot of the innocent people. Well, hopefully, presumably innocent people in the church. We eventually killed most of them and took one captive.
I like how I get what you meant by that last sentence, Sam, but there's definitely an alternate interpretation of like they killed a lot of. Well, I hope they were innocent people.
I did think that as I was saying.
killing innocent people is Sam's kink. So everyone knows. There we go. One awful thing to say. And on that note, let's move on to someone who says awful things on a very regular basis. It is Chris. He plays Steo, former infantryman and town guard turned reluctant and cautious sellsword, I think it's safe to say. Chris, hi.
I just like to point out that Sam kills a normal amount of innocent people before anyone gets the wrong idea about him.
Just the regular, normal amounts that you'd expect. Ooh, could we have Steo's art up, please?
Once in a while to keep me going. That's all.
Yeah. And I've literally just asked, and it's just plain that he's not listening. So my second request: could we have Steo's art screen, please? Sorry, I could just see John at the bottom mouthing, "Oh shit." There we go. Chris, with these Black Cloaks arriving in the Chapel of Many, cutting people down, you now have a captive Black Cloak as well. I think we said who's very badly injured. Did the other one throw down or did they flee? I actually genuinely can't remember.
They're in one of the alcoves. They were kind of backed off and were kind of
okay. I don't
think they cheesed it.
Fair enough. No cheesing happened. What's Steo thinking? Like he's gonna what's Steo's impression of the game plan here?
Steo's a bit like, oh shit, this is like Steo had not planned on this much bloodshed and was kind of hoping to try and talk his way out of this, but now there's a room full of dead people again. So I guess we're going to have to come up with something. It's a vague plan of going to the ambassador's complex, but we'll see how that pans out.
We will indeed. And I was going to say, speaking of panning out, which doesn't make any sense. Speaking of panning out, here's Stephen.
Hi.
Hi, Stephen. Stephen plays Alindra, former Templar novice, again, turned sellsword, a less reluctant hitter of big things than with slicey things than Steo, but that's what she does. Stephen, hi. And also, what's Alindra's take on current happenings?
Standing in a Chapel of the Many, soaked in the blood of an entire squad of Black Cloaks, is, I think, Alindra's idea of the worst case scenario. I think it would have been. I think she thinks it would have been better to have just been murdered.
Right.
Because you know, I don't think that the Church of Prios is likely just to let this one slide. You know.
Sure. But the Church of Prios is also not technically meant to just randomly kill people.
No
due process.
No, but we're in the Chapel of the Young Gods, which is like it's kind of what they do.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
We kind of got some questions to answer about why we're there. So yeah, like nothing good will come of this. Is where
nothing
good will
come of this. All right, let's move to our final player for tonight. John, who by contrast, I know Arendar is delighted that this is the way it's panned out. Arendar loves killing people in holy places, loves being hunted down by the church. So he's thrilled. I mean, I didn't get that wrong, did I, John?
I mean, you weren't completely there.
Weren't completely there. Okay. Well, Arendar is the last remaining member of House Star, a noble, a disinherited noble and duelist. John, if I'm so wrong, what is Arendar's perspective on the current situation?
Arendar's perspective on the current situation is a definite dread because killing a large amount of non-heretical, basically inquisitors for the Church of Prios, while investigating the death of the first Theurg of Prios, is a bit of a tricky situation to be in. But he was really just following Alindra's lead, and Alindra seemed like she knew what she was doing, so she's obviously got a plan, and it's going to be fine.
If there's
Like, you
if
don't
there's-
just charge into a room of black cloaks and start killing them all if you don't have a plan to get out of it.
I tell you what, if there's any reasoning for abhorrent acts that the world as a whole has decided to like just give the thumbs up to,
Don't you dare.
then just following orders is absolutely, yeah. I mean, who could argue with that? Who could see any fault in that? So there we go. Lovely stuff. We don't have a Mike tonight. The more astute of you may have noticed that. He's fine. Don't worry about Mike. It's all good. That sounds like I murdered him. I haven't murdered him. He is fine. He just has to be away for some very good reasons. I murdered
He
him.
had to go back to his home planet.
Yeah, he left for his home planet. You won't be seeing him again, but I assure you he's fine, officer. So there we go. And we are stood in the chapel of the young gods. Let's have a refresh of like what's going on. All your party is there. I don't think any of you took any really serious damage. So there's nothing like that. There are a number of dead people scattered around, including the kind of mistress of the chapel. There was a young clanfolk warrior who was cut down. Like the only people alive in there are you lot and one of the Black Cloak leaders who's been stabbed in the back with a spear and is currently on the ground, kind of like hissing invective at you between gasps of pain, and another Black Cloak, a young man who is kind of like backed into a chapel alcove by, I want to say, Arendar. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think so. I think you were.
I think you were wobbling. You were kind of swizzling swords at each other at the end of the last episode.
I think you were trying to save the young Clangfolk warrior, but didn't get there kind of in time. Yeah. So what's going on, folks?
Askrai, would you be so kind as to close the door and bar it if you can?
The door is closed and barred already. The Black Cloaks didn't want anyone escaping.
That's right.
How handy. Anton, would you kindly see to our new friend's wounds?
Well, in that case, and I think, Sam, are you okay to play Anton again for the night? Do you want to give me a cunning roll for it? Does he have lay on hands now?
He does have lay on hands. I guess he'd use lay on hands. Seems better.
Mm-hmm.
Which is against resolute, I think.
A resolute roll, I'd imagine.
That's a 1.
Perfect. I'm not going to kind of calculate, but definitely like her, like the hissing of pain kind of drops away a bit, and she just kind of glares up at Anton and says, "Don't think that this will absolve you of your sins, apostate. You're guilty. All of you are guilty. Heresy."
Okay, well, this is just wonderful, isn't it?
One of us had them pinned to the floor, as I recall, but I can't remember which one of us it was.
It's Steo. She is under Steo's tender boot.
Okay, spear point or whatever.
What's the other one doing by Aaron? Are they like surrendering? Are they?
He has like lowered his blade and is kind of like seems to be watching, keeping one eye on Arendar and one eye on the downed Black Cloak leader for like cues of what to do.
I will say to him, place it on the floor, please, brother.
I will only drop my weapon at the command of my superior, heretic. He does not look afraid to die.
Okay, so controversial opinion, how about we stop killing people for the rest of the afternoon?
I think we might have 2 more to go.
Ascari. Don't exacerbate.
The woman on the floor gives out a choking laugh and says, "Do it. Send me to Prios's embrace. I will go there without any guilt, unlike you."
I think we might want to have a conversation first.
I mean, sure, but what? Yes, and then we'll let them go.
If nobody else is going to ask any questions, then I guess Elindra will step up. So, what was the plan here? Just there's a chapel of the young gods, come in, murder everybody?
A den of snakes. In
Right,
a town under Prios's light.
So
And the Duke, of course, signed off on your plans for this. It was under my impression that he'd give instructions that this place should be left alone.
We do not follow the diktats of mortal authority. Ours comes from a higher throne.
Can't argue with that. I gave a kind of worried, this person is not all right glance toward Antom.
Antom does not look particularly phased, and I would imagine that Elindra does not either. Like, this level of fanaticism is not unusual within the Church of Prios. If anything, it's moderated by their alliance with the throne.
okay, but my understanding is that, like, organizationally, correct me if I'm wrong here, Matt, like the Black Cloaks and I guess the Twilight Friars are like they're generally more than you call on when you just need some folks murdered, right? Like they're like intelligence and
yeah, absolutely. So let's have a brief ecumenical lesson about the Church of Prios, or a reminder, shall we? The Church of Prios is was split into 3 arms, 3 branches, right? You have the Curia, who are theurgs, liturgs, novices, all those people you'd expect to meet at the Sun Temple, right? Obviously, like people like Elfano and Leandro, this missing high theurg, or this high theurg who's gone. The dead high theurg here and Father Anton himself are all members of the Curia, right? Then you have the explicitly military arm of the church, the Sun Knights, the Templars, or at least you did, because now they've left and are doing their own thing in Temple Wall. And then you have the 3rd branch, who are commonly known as, most people will call them the Black Cloaks, but really the Black Cloaks is a term for like those of them who go out and do stuff, whether they're spies, inquisitors, other kind of like even do like diplomatic agents. They do a number of different things where their focus is basically the matters of the church that aren't just priestly, purely military, or like administrative, right? They do everything else. People think, but they're called Black Cloaks because they wear black cloaks, but technically that's the ones who go out and do stuff.
That's more like a rank than the whole organization.
Yeah, kind of. The Twilight Friars is more the term for the ones who sit in, I think their headquarters is in the Ravens, and they sit there and they determine these things, right? And they are extremely highly influential on the top layer of the Church of Prios. And that's kind of how it works. But Black Cloaks are also notorious for, quite a lot of them are just kind of like, to a certain degree, set loose. Some of them will have missions, but some of them will not be. A notorious Black Black Cloak you interacted with at the very start of this campaign was Balmello, and he was essentially just a free agent. So like, it's and this is all ruled over by the first kind of the head theurg of Prios, who's called Jussi Big Eye, and he's a very, very powerful person in Ambria, perhaps second only to the Queen.
Nice. Okay, so it's perhaps not that unusual to have Black Cloaks decide to take it upon themselves to come and kick in a Temple of the Many like this.
No, not necessarily. No.
Perhaps slightly unusual for the like not one but two Twilight Friars to come out and personally accompany them.
Like the difference between Black Cloaks and Twilight Friars is kind of muddy anyway, and I would like specifically if we're going to be nerdy about it in the book, all of the people you just fought are referred to as Black Cloaks. The term Twilight Friars more comes from the head of the order don't wear the big black cloaks and go around with tall hats and inquisit people. They look like monks in kind of black robes, hence the name Twilight Friars. So these weren't technically Twilight, but there's a lot of muddiness between those two terms, and plenty of people would call the entire organization Black Cloaks, and other people, mostly more educated people, would call the entire organization Twilight Friars. So it's like I've just added that slight division to kind of like slightly separate out the terms. But yeah.
Is it unusual for the Black Cloaks to go directly against the, I guess, law of the town that they're in? Or is that unusual to guess because Duke Inadar is kind of the only Duke that has that kind of free worship thing?
He's the only Duke who has that kind of declaration of free worship. So yeah, what Duke Inadar is doing in a lot of other duchies would be seen as heretical. Right. So yeah, it's controversial, but it would indeed be controversial for a Duke to say these people are under my protection, and then for Black Cloaks to fucking burn and murder them. Yes. It is a sign of a deeper conflict.
Right.
This is awesome that you're asking these questions, by the way.
Okay, so with all that in mind, I think so Alindra's going to ask, you local to Ravenia? You're on mute.
Conveniently. She shoots you a glance and basically doesn't say anything. She kind of is biting down on her lip, despite Antom's ministrations. Getting a spear in the back still hurts.
Okay. Or
doesn't seem to want to respond to that.
Or you're just visiting town. Thought you'd kick some bins over while you're here.
You think I'd come here for reasons other than to burn as much foul corruption out of this wretched place as I could?
I think you might have done. If you'd taken a moment to learn anything of what's going on in Ravenia, there's more than just a church full of heathens.
You burned the theurge and the witch, then, I assume.
She glances at you, but is not answering. Unless you want to try and make a persuasion roll.
Yeah, I think I might kind of put the boot in.
I mean, you do it like that if you want, yeah. But,
quite literally, but it'll be by the mechanism of persuasion.
Yeah, let's. Okay, that'll be versus her resolve. Her resolute is surprisingly bad. Take a persuasive at +1.
Yeah, that's never working. I rolled a 14.
Yeah, she does not reply.
I have a general suggestion. How about we give our new friends a tour of the lower levels of the facility here, and then go and fetch the guards, I suppose.
You could, if you wanted, you can definitely move them. There are enough of you that you could definitely tie them up and move them safely. Oh, you would be walking them through the streets, obviously.
No, I mean put them in the dungeon, quote unquote.
Oh yeah,
Put
yeah,
them
I
where
know.
the
I was just making clear that you have, alternatives if you want to.
So, Elindra, unaware that the Greenweaver has made herself scarce because she ran out of the room, it's like looks in alarm. Is that a good idea, Theo?
Well, I'm sure as hell not marching a bunch of Prios's finest through the streets of Ravenna moments before the Duke gives their birthday speech. We need to be a little bit subtle.
Perhaps some of us could stay here.
Yes, and that.
Keep the doors barred. Send a messenger. Well, there are our friends here. I think there are two ways out that I see to them. One is to go and meet Prios. The other is to meet our employer. I'm leaning towards the second one. Do any of you have opinions?
Yeah.
I certainly have a question that the others might have, which is, by your employer, do you mean DeSaber or Berlioz?
DeSaber, but not about to name drop that right now.
I don't think we should turn them over to the guard. I'm in favor of getting them both under control, maybe back through that doorway, and then we can do what Elindra says.
If we keep them alive, we might yet make it out of this town not wearing shackles or on the run.
I want to flag two things. One, DeSaber informed you to help the city guard, not kind of bring her people. Those were her words to encourage you to do that. But I think your agreement with Burley was definitely you bring him the people who did it. Like, I'm not saying that means that's what you have to do, but I just want to reiterate those things in a recap style. I would also like a cunning roll off each of you.
For each of us?
Yes, please. And you know what? Askarai can take a +2.
I rolled a 20.
That's a fail. How about Arendar shake his head. What did Askarai get? Yes. Okay. Askarai, if you and this is just a possibility, I'm not saying it will definitely happen, but it's just that role-playing group comes up with an idea, and I want to throw. If I was to fuck with it in any way, I want to throw you the way I'd fuck with it before you decide whether to do it or not. If you secure the people in this basement and then you leave, there are lots of people around here who know what this place is. The chances of them not hearing people screaming for help and stuff is pretty minimal. In all the chaos, there may have been people rattling on the door or something you don't know. The point is, if a bunch of Vajvod and Karahar enter here and find quite a few slaughtered Vajvod and Karahar and black cloaks in the basement, you're not going to have secure prisoners. You're going to have a lynching. And it's quite likely that anyone guarding them will also end up swinging.
Okay. Would we think that the depth of this basement, or however the basement is set out, is like not enough to stop them being able to shout loud enough? It's questionable.
I mean, maybe, but like, yeah. You don't know.
Sure.
I'm just throwing this at you to I was just afraid that you were like, that sounds perfectly secure, and I just want to give you
I think there's also the fact that this is a place of worship. People might just come here. and see a huge massacre has occurred with a bunch of black cloaks. Like, that's also bad news.
Yeah, I assume there's absolutely no chance of us cleaning this up quickly so that it doesn't look like a massacre happened here. Like, there's going to be, I assume, quite a lot of blood.
Yeah, it's not really a cleanup operation situation.
I think one of the words used last week was bisected.
I think it was.
In fact, I think that was used twice.
This is a mess. This is such a mess. Like, if we hand them over to the guard, is it just going to be civil war and Ravenna? Like, is that really what we're doing?
Or do they pull rank and just walk free?
Yeah, and then we have, and also, then we're going to have the church. If these people are not, like, get any word out to anybody, the church is after us until the end of days.
I remind you that our employer asked us to minimize bloodshed. Having 2 hostages is better than a whole room full of dead people, because dead people don't talk.
I don't know if that's true, because if these people are left alive, there could be a lot more bloodshed to follow. We could be done with these 2, and maybe everyone else can get out of it alive, us included.
We're short on time.
Also have, just a vigilant roll from everyone. And this is almost like a retrospective vigilant roll. Because I don't think I mentioned it when you went down in the cellar last time. Okay. The cellar, not the kind of like almost cell-like chamber that Algaia was in, but just the main corridor that it's off, has a what you call it? A cellar door, right? Like the flippy up. You know what I mean?
A trap door?
It's not quite a trap door, but yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
That goes where? That goes to street level?
It certainly looked like it would, yeah.
It's in the ceiling going up.
Correct. Yeah. It looks like it would emerge on the street or behind the chapel or something like that. Yeah.
Like a loading doors.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay. We bind them. We all take them out through the cellar exit. Leave the front door locked for now. Take them to the guard.
This plan goes wrong when they get to walk free from the guard. And I think that they have enough power and can pull enough strings to do that. That taking them to the guard only works if they get thrown in a cell and stay there forever and don't get to speak to anybody. And I cannot imagine that happening.
I'm not killing them. And giving them to the guard buys us time while they pull rank for us to get the hell out of this town. Yet another mark on the map of towns I can't come back to because of kind of puts the boot a little bit into the prisoner because of flipping stupid politics.
Mystery solved. Our work here is done. We'll go and take the good word elsewhere.
100%.
I mean, there's nothing. Yeah,
Anton
we could do that.
Anton kind of shakes his head and says, I think you're underestimating how illegal their actions have been.
There's also that. We're not in the wrong here. We defended a place that was under the protection of the Duke. My understanding of the politics is correct.
I do not think it matters whether we leave here with them alive or dead as to whether we have made potentially an enemy of people within the Black Cloaks. But I do not. I do not see how we would.
If they're dead, Father, there's nobody to save us. Uh-oh. I think we lost him.
Are we back?
Ooh. Yep.
Hi.
Just about. No video.
No video. Okay, yeah.
And you're back.
Hello.
Hello.
I do not see how we would fall foul of the authorities of Ravenna for this. We have seemingly found murderers.
We wouldn't fall foul of Ravenna. The question is how the church would respond to reports that we were responsible for killing those other Black Cloaks. We can say that it was in self-defense. We can say that this place was under the protection of the Duke's orders. I'm not sure any of those things will wash with the church. I'm not seriously suggesting that we ensure that there are no witnesses, but what I am saying is that leaving witnesses is problematic. We have to consider what that will mean for our safety in the future.
I'm not doing any more killing today.
We are not killing prisoners.
Right, then we'll take them out the trapdoor and we will march them to the guard tower.
I hate it,
There's some.
but if that is the majority decision, then let's do it. But what about the other guy?
We'll take them both. We'll tie them both up.
I mean, the other guy.
Oh, they left.
I think they just went in the dirt. I don't know where they've gone now. We still
Sorry,
need to find them.
what do we mean by the other guy?
We're trying not to say the witch.
Oh, right. Okay. I was confused by the word guy.
They
yeah, she seems to be gone.
But when we
you can
left
look
her,
after them,
she
so.
just like went in the dirt.
Oh, yeah. I guess you don't know if she's lurking down in the dirt or is left. You don't. Yeah, you don't know.
I don't think there's anything significant we can do to help her.
I don't think we want to help her. She's doing just as much bad stuff as anyone else. She's been murdering people. I think we want to turn her into. Aren't we supposed to be turning everyone into the guard who's been responsible for all these killings? Isn't that what we're here for?
We can find her later. Let's press ahead with getting these ones back.
Is this stuff all being said out loud?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
Look, one bunch of murderers at a time. Tie these up, get them to the guard, save our own skins.
Agreed.
Okay.
I guess this does somewhat raise the question of whether the remaining Black Cloak is going to submit to being tied up. The Twilight Friar doesn't have much choice, right?
Well,
No.
Look, he can get
the Black
tied
Cloak
up,
is still
or he
on.
can get died up.
Again, I want to reiterate they're both Black Cloaks.
Oh, so okay. Sorry, the leader.
Mhm.
Okay.
Pascal is also going to search the other leader person.
Okay. 1,000 of our more Munchkin oriented viewers cry out in joy at this rare occurrence. The other Black Cloak leader, the dead one, all he has on his body is a sun symbol, one dose of what appears to be some kind of elixir, a copy of the Lightbringer, what is essentially the Church of Prios Bible. Could you roll a d20 and a d8 for me, please, Ascarai?
Sure. But a 7 and a 17.
Okay, that's 17 thaler and 7 shillings.
Not bad. Maybe Ascry will take his sun symbol. I don't know. We'll take something.
Okay.
Steel will bind the prone leader who's underneath him currently, and will kind of nods to Alindra and Aaron to get the other one.
Gag her as well, Steve.
Fair.
So,
You there in the corner. You can come quietly, or you can go quickly. We're going to the authorities, and if your God is with you, then we will be the ones who burn.
Okay. just so Chris is aware, he's very choppy. But we did get that. The other one, he's kind of still holding his sword and is kind of glancing down at his superior on the ground, but she's not offering any kind of help. She is either like spitting invective at you or staring at you venomously, or now being bundled and kind of like gagged. So sounds like it's up to Alindra and Aaron. Is there any kind of role that either of you wants to make to try and,
I guess some kind of like intimidation.
Yeah, you could roll strong against his resolute for sure.
Okay, I'll do that.
So that's strong at +1.
That is a pass.
Yeah. Describe for me how this intimidation happens.
Okay, well, so Aaron already, I think, has him at sword point. Askarai's hands are both free as well, and presumably has a clean shot there. Alindra is just going to kind of walk over with the sword. She is pretty tall and imposing anyway, and just, point the sword at him and kind of go, "It's over. Put it down."
He nods. He actually reaches into his cloak for a cloth, wipes the blood off his blade, scabbards it, and kind of holds his hands. I had to put them over my mic, which made it look very weird. Like he holds his hands out like this. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yeah. So bind his hands and remove the scabbard. Like take the sword away.
Yeah. I would feel remiss if I did not ask. Are we also gagging him?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. You could do these things. Their companions have plenty of cloth. On them if you need to tear things off for bindings and gags. So the plan is to bundle them down the stairs, make your way out of those cellar doors, and then get them to the guards as quickly and quietly as you possibly can. I'm assuming is the idea.
Yeah, I don't imagine that we're not gonna make loads of noise about it, but I don't imagine we're gonna be like super sneaky or anything. It's more like, if people see us, they see us, but they were hopefully going to be able to read the scene that like this is some people that you have.
And in a lawful city like Ravenna, you would hope that people leading people through the streets at weapon point, they've got some authority to them, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it so blatantly.
Yeah, I'm sort of banking on that thing where people just go, "Oh, that's not my problem." Like,
yeah, exactly.
God,
they must know what they're doing.
This is probably fine.
Yeah. Throw my cloak sort of around one of them to slightly obfuscate the fact that they are, a black cloak.
You got there before Anton. Anton was gonna, because Anton has the long cloak he wears to conceal his robes, right? When it's a situation he might not want to be identified as a priest, and he takes off and does the same thing. So they're at least a little bit less obviously black cloaks. Sure. Yeah, there's no problem with this. You briefly find the cellar door locked, but I'm not going to make anyone roll to find it or anything. You realize that it was, very likely a key being held by the unfortunate Torga. And any of you who go to investigate and do find indeed a bundle of keys, you take those, you unlock the chapel, the cellar doors emerge onto kind of like, there's no real back streets in Barbarian Town, but like onto certainly a quieter area, and there's no one currently nearby. Close the doors behind you, presumably lock them behind you. Yeah. And then you start walking the streets. And of course you immediately attract curious stares. The place, Barbarian Town is still full with celebrations today. I'm not saying you need to roll this or trouble's going to happen, but I want some sense of how much attention is drawn to you. And I'm just going to go for a majority discreet roll, I think. And I can't, in all good conscience, not give you a penalty for discreet in your current circumstances. So I'd like you all to make a discreet roll at -2, please. And let's just see how people do. And can you do one for Anton as well, please? That's great. I mean, that's got to be a no, Theo, I'm guessing. So we've got 1 yay, 1 nay.
Askra makes it, Anton does not.
Okay, 2 and 2. So it's Alindra.
Alindra made it.
Hey, You are as surreptitious as you possibly can be under the circumstances.
We have been
3/5
surreptitious.
Yes. I suspect, I haven't been in this circumstance, but I suspect being discreet in this circumstance is being fast.
Yeah, fast and confident, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Marching, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you march through the streets. People do kind of like stop and stare and look around, but kind of as Chris and Stephen both alluded to, they're kind of like, whoa, we're glad I'm not them, sort of thing, whatever they've done. You did notice, obviously, where the City Guard's main HQ is, but also, I believe, there are some City Watch offices that you noticed opposite the Inn Barbarity. Do you want to bring up the map, John?
Ooh.
Do you remember Barbarity, the inn you went into to kind of get a bit of lay of the land? It's like a... I did describe where it was originally, but it's like towards... Yeah, keep going down, John. Down. Left.
Yeah, like not so far from the inn that the Saber's
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, Barbarity is there, and literally opposite was some City Watch offices. So it's up to you whether you want to go there, the quickest, safe-ish place, or you want to be absolutely dead sure and go all the way through town to the HQ.
We could go to the local guards and tell them to send for Captain Yalna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like we definitely want it up in the captain's hands rather than, I don't want to just drop them off at the guard post. But yes, we can take them to the guard post, have them hold him and send a messenger.
Yeah, seems best.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of march through the town, through Barbarian Town. You make it to that kind of little square where there's Barbarity on one side and the City Watch offices on the other. The City Watch, as you come in, kind of like, there's a couple of them outside and they kind of like stand up and start walking towards you with very kind of doubtful expressions on their faces. And one of them says, all right, fellows, what the fuck's going on here?
These two are suspected of murder. We want to get them to Captain Yalna, or get Captain Yalna here. We were wondering if you could help. Maybe hold them, maybe send a messenger.
Captain Yalna knows that this might be a request that is going to land on her desk.
Unfortunately, yes.
All right. Well, if you're lying,
But I just checked, Matt. Are we making an enormous mistake with it? Like, because I know that we were a bit off the books here, right? Like, so I'm just wondering how open it does make sense to be with them.
I wouldn't say. Commander Berlioz decided to hire us under the table for this task.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say that. But
Yalna was aware that we were investigating and that we might find someone. And
any watch captain worth their salt would have people who sometimes do some work for them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah, it's not. I think it's a perfectly reasonable thing. And the guard kind of looks at you all and shrugs and says, "It's not me she'll be chewing out. If you're lying, all right." He turns to a couple of other guards who've kind of emerged, with curious looks from the inside, and he goes, "Put these two in the cell. These 6, I guess he wouldn't count Ferrin. I don't know, next to the cell, but keep an eye on them.
Keep those gags on them."
All right.
Thank you.
They kind of escort you into the watch offices very quickly. It's not very big. It's basically just one large room, has some tables on one side. It has a barred cell, and the black cloaks are kind of shoved in there. And then there's some benches kind of next to them where people a few of the guard are just sat there, kind of one is reading a book, presumably on their break, and another is eating an apple and stuff like that. And you all kind of it's put there basically, and all the city watch, maybe like who were here, maybe like 7 or 8 of them, kind of stand near the door, kind of watching you. To presumably make sure you don't make a break for it. Apart from one of them, who the youngest one, who kind of like they nudge towards the door and they dash off.
Cool. So we're just standing in this guard room next to the cell, essentially.
Yeah, or sitting on the bench, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
I think we're going to miss the Duke's speech.
One of the guards says, "You won't. It's been cancelled."
Oh?
Do you know why?
I heard some folks saying he was ill. I don't know how true that is. I think if I had to put money on it, that he's finally wised up, that he doesn't have to treat the city better than other dukes do. One of the others nudges her and says, "That's treason." No, it's fucking not. If talking shit about the Duke was treason, we need a lot more cells.
I was under the impression he was well liked.
He is. Have you never heard people talk shit about someone well liked before?
It was my favorite pastime back in Thistlehold.
So either he's ill or he just didn't feel like it.
I don't know. He didn't tell me.
Shame.
Are we?
God, do you ever get to that?
No. You go.
Do you ever get to that age where you just automatically assume that any kind of news you hear is bad news? God, Prios's tits.
I think I'm approaching it, Steo.
It always
Yeah,
will
I-
be if you go in with that attitude.
I think it's been a pretty safe assumption as far as I can remember.
Are we doing or talking about anything else, or are we just basically waiting for?
I think just waiting. Oh,
Yeah. Elindra has thoughts, but I don't think there are any of them are things that she wants to say out loud in this place.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Steel might engage in a little bit of practice small talk, but of absolutely no significant value.
So, about probably 20 minutes, half an hour later, you can hear a bit of a not a bad commotion outside, but the noise of kind of a lot of people walking around. There's some kind of people talking to each other, a couple of people shouting, and you can see through the door that maybe the little open space between Barbarity and here is kind of being cleared a little bit. Kind of people told to go back inside their houses or go into another street. And then a few city guard walk through the door, accompanied by both Captain Ialna and Commander Berlioz, who just realized I don't have my screen share set up, but I will now because we can't have a scene with Berlioz and not feature his wonderful mustache. You know?
That's what we're all here for.
Exactly. They walk in. Berlioz kind of glances over at you all. Ialna's face is as difficult to read as the first time you met her. And he walks over to the cell, kind of peers in. Are your coats and cloaks still over the black cloaks? The city guard will definitely have tried. Well, no, they don't know they're not theirs. Oh, yes, they do, because they're bound underneath them. Did you? Let's just say that they removed them. It's fine, and you have your cloaks and coats back. He peers at them in the cell and goes, "Shit."
Yep.
Yeah.
Not entirely unsurprising, though, is it? I suppose.
So these two and some colleagues of theirs who have now joined Prios attacked the Chapel of the Young Gods.
Attacked? Were there more casualties?
There were.
It's a bloodbath. These were the two that we were able to pick out alive. There's clearly some kind of crusade happening here. We're as unhappy to be handing these two over as you are to be receiving them. We know what this means.
What does it mean? You brought me murderers.
I brought you murderers, and we've brought you politics, for which I apologize.
He shrugs. You brought me murderers. He kind of knocks on the bars a little bit and says, "Did you think that those cloaks would keep you safe from the law? Not in Ravenna, not in my city. Very well done. Do you want another job?"
No.
What needs doing?
Well, I'm not going to be the one to tell you that. We're going to have to go up the ladder a bit.
Oh, that's the last thing I needed to hear after the afternoon I've had. Okay, Judy calls.
Is this the kind of job that we can say no thanks and walk away from? It's not, is it?
I don't know what you're expecting. You seem to intimate that somehow you'll be... First, you seem to intimate that somehow this was a dangerous situation of bringing me murderers in my city. And now what? You're implicating that it's a job I'll kill you if you don't accept? That's not how things work here.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply that.
Do you want the job? It will pay very handsomely, and you will be doing a great favor to the authorities of Ravenna.
What's the job?
Like I say,
let's go
I need to know your response, and then we'll go up the ladder.
A handsome payment is it a more tempting job offer than we've had in a little while.
If I may ask, if you are able to tell us, is it related to previous events?
I don't know yet, but it all seems a bit coincidental that you'll see.
I'll turn to the rest of the group and sort of nod.
We're in this thing already. If we stay in this thing, at least maybe we get paid.
Ask Greg, you still have the temple keys. You best hand them over.
I think yes.
I don't think it's Belt who picked them up. Okay. But yeah. Ialna kind of takes them from you. Burlio rounds on the other city guard who has stood there and says, "Not a fucking word about any of this, or you're reporting into her." Points over his shoulder at Ialna, who gives them a kind of cool stare, and they kind of go, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir." All right, Ialna, see what you could do with that chapel. Try and find relatives. This is a fucking mess. Make it not a mess. All right, you lot with me. You walk out of the city guard offices and accompanied by Burlio and a number of other guards, you march through the pathways of Barbarian Town, through the gates, through the streets of Ravenna until you reach the gates of the Mound. Burlio steps in with one of the guards there, has kind of a brief word with them, and they open the gates. You're escorted through, and then you are kind of like, there is a building on the inside of the gates to the side of it, like a guardhouse, right? That you'd expect to find there, where people can like have a sit down or whatever, kind of where guard business is carried out at the gate. You are shown in there, and kind of then shown it kind of, you think you've walked into the walls basically, and you are shown into a room that has a kind of like a table laid out, and I swear to God, if any one of you, there's some food and drink and there's a table. All right, that's all I'm saying. That's all we're saying about that. Specifically, there's kind of like dried fruits, nuts, smoked meat. You're offered drinks, kind of wine, water, whatever you want. And Berlioz says, all right, wait in here. I'll be back with my boss.
Okay. Did the Black Cloaks come with us, or are they still in the?
Oh no, they're still in the other cells. They're all over in Barbarian Town. Yeah, they did not come.
Still don't think they've got away with this.
Berlioz leaves. The door is closed, and you hear a click.
Ah, there it is. The bull crap.
I don't know exactly when the bullcrap started, but I think it was a while back.
Right, so we head north and we join the Malgamore. We get the Archbridge. We can get some disguises, some better cloaks at Archbridge. We hit Volgoma, get to that village, never leave it. Who's with me?
I mean, maybe.
I think you may be missing the first part of the plan.
We get paid.
At this stage, I'll just be happy to walk out of this town.
You could have stayed in Barbarian Town.
We could have said no to the job, couldn't we?
I kind of trust this guy. Probably a stupid thing to do and say, but he seems
less than an hour
level.
ago, you were proposing we kill the prisoners, and now you're happy we've been locked in a room and we're going to get introduced to someone political.
We should have killed the prisoners, but we didn't. And I feel like we might get money, so it's kind of paying off.
There's no inherent threat in a locked door.
Tell that to someone.
Sometimes it makes it safer.
Locked.
And as you say this, the door unlocks. And it opens. A number of guards come through. Berlioz comes through, and this time he is accompanied by a woman of kind of early middle years. She has sort of quite shortish, bobbed blondish ash blonde hair, and is dressed in a fairly simple but very well made grey and black kind of robe / dress. As she walks in, she almost immediately kind of inclines her head towards Father Anton and says, "Father." He kind of, his eyes widen a bit and he says, "Adjutant Balalia?" I assume that means further introductions are not necessarily needed. Sergeant Steo, Scout Ascarai, former novice Alindra, Sir Arendar, yes.
That's us.
Forever at a disadvantage. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Right. I am Duke Inadar's adjutant. I carry out his business. I am his right hand in Ravenna. Please understand the authority my words carry. I do not particularly wish to have to repeat myself or clarify of anything that I do not need to. Both the Duke and High Priest Leandro are missing. The latter was never suspected of the murders, but was staying at the fortress as Duke Inadar's guest to wait while the situation in the city calmed down. This disappearance was only discovered a few hours ago, when it was revealed by the Duke's valet. The Duke's valet knows where the Duke had gone. He had been sworn to silence, but in the absence of the Duke's return, his fear for his safety made him break his promise to the Duke and confide in me. The Duke and Leandro went to a storage building in Barbarian Town to attend a covert meeting with the Whip of Prios about 2 hours ago. I immediately sent a troop of soldiers to the area, who are still there, but according to the report I received moments before your arrival, there is no one there except for the corpses of 2 of Inadar's bodyguards. Quite naturally, I fear the worst. I have been told very good things about you from Berlioz, from other allies. And of course, your reputation precedes you as heroes of Thistlehold, yes? Or perhaps you can be heroes in Ravenna. Please find Duke Inadar. 20 thala each, and the Duke, I'm sure, will be even more generous if you contribute to his safe return.
Okay. Do we have any leads? Do we know where the storage building is? Do we know where...
Yes, my soldiers are there, but you will be taken there. You can accompany them, and you have history with this kind of thing. More so than my soldiers, anyway.
The Whip's palanquin, it did not leave the city, did it?
We don't know.
Prios's teats.
We saw
we better move on.
We saw the Whip of Prios coming into the gate. Did Asker or anybody recognize any of the black cloaks as people we saw with the Whip of Prios?
No.
Okay.
They're not. I presume they're not that recognizable anyway, right? Like, I don't know. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I imagine black cloaks can have hoods and are not don't sort of routinely show their faces anyway. Really,
it certainly can do. But there were some people on foot with them. There were a couple of very notable people traveling with the Whip who you did not see. Who definitely did not. There was someone in a great helm. There was someone in a sun mask, and they definitely weren't. It certainly may be possible, but you didn't recognize any commonality.
I like to think that Askarai in particular is very good at recognizing faces.
To work out whether to copy them later.
Yeah.
True.
He's got a good face memory.
I mean, it's also to be fair, that was a whole procession of people, and I think our attention would have been drawn towards the big, shiny, impressive people in the masks. I don't know.
I agree.
To what extent we'd have studied every one of the black cloaks to be we should remember their faces in case we see them again.
I agree. I mean, also, the thing is, if the Whip of Prios did just arrive, then they weren't burning people here, a week ago or whatever.
That's true.
Berlioz kind of nods and says, so you can understand that this is quite urgent, but before you set off, if I could just ask, so you believe the black cloaks you brought us are guilty of the murders of Ombardo and the Witch, yes?
That's the best working theory that we currently have, and we know for sure that they murdered all of those people in the chapel.
All right. Did you get any closer to who murdered the first Theurg?
Yes, we found a Greenweaver from the Carrot Clan, old Gaia, hidden amongst below that chapel, but disappeared in the commotion.
They may still be there when your people go. They may not.
Bellalia leans forward and says, Algaia killed Armanda.
We didn't get a name.
Yeah, I mean, you just gave the name.
Yeah, Argaia.
Seem quite proud of it as well.
Not important right now. All right. You'll be shown to the Blue Moon Trading Post. That is where the Duke was last seen.
Steele will quickly grab a haunch of meat from the similar to but legally distinct from buffet and get ready to leave.
The only other name I had was Master Goldam, but I don't know if that means anything to you. One of the Black Cloaks.
Berlioz shakes his head and says, no, but it's good to know. We'll see what our interrogation turns up. But if they were marching into the chapel, cutting people down, well, they seem likely candidates.
Black Cloaks walking into the chapel to investigate the murders is one thing, but this was not that at all.
Don't worry, I will do my absolute best to make sure they pay for what they've done.
Thank you.
You are led out of the chambers and then out of the guardhouse. You are given kind of basically a couple of guards escort you out of the mound, again through the streets of Ravenna and down towards the riverside. In point of fact, you literally walk past the Weary Legs. And you notice kind of like members of your caravan outside there. No named characters. But you notice those people, and they kind of look at you a little curiously as you walk past, and you keep on walking alongside the river Doodrum. You walk past kind of clumps of trees and kind of patches of slightly more wild area near the river, but beyond that you can see that there are a number of sort of piers leading out into the river, with a number of large buildings next to them, presumably like warehouses and kind of trading posts and things like that. And a little way along from there, you'd estimate that you're maybe half or a third past of the way past Barbarian. Like if you were in Barbarian Town, you'd be maybe half or a third of the way towards the edge of it, of the north, and you find yourself by what looks like a large, slight secluded building by a partially wooded area of the riverbank. It's a simple one-story structure of stone. It has its own berth, its own little pier in front of it. It has two entrances that both are facing the river. One is a simple wooden door, the other a double gate. Both seem to be normally locked with metal bars and padlocks, but the smaller door is unlocked and the large one broken open. There are a number of soldiers milling around there, and the soldiers who arrive with you kind of like take one of them to one side and kind of like talk to them. And that soldier, he then kind of comes back to your group and says, all right, sirs, you got to have what you want. So do you want the run of the place, or do you want us to show you what we found first?
Show us what you find. Your eyes are better than ours, I'd say.
All right, sir. He kind of steps through into the building, and at a glance, it's not that interesting. It does not seem to have been used as a trading house or a warehouse any time in the recent past, and consists of a single, really quite large room that is mostly empty, apart from some furniture in the inner north corner. On what is clearly an expensive rug stands an oval dining table with room for 4. It's draped with a white lace tablecloth underneath a 4-armed silver candlestick with lit candles. Beyond the table, against the wall, stands a simple but elegant feather bed. And near the table, face down, are lying 2 lifeless bodies of individuals who are noticeably wearing they're kind of disheveled, and you can see that they're wearing kind of normal clothes and a blank tabard, but underneath that tabard is the heraldry of Ravenna. So they were definitely look to have been, they mentioned he was his bodyguards, and that kind of stacks. Like, they look like they were his official bodyguards, but they were maybe wearing stuff over it to kind of make them a bit more undercover, as it were, right? And yeah, you can investigate the place. The guy kind of gestures at them and says, I mean, they're what we found. It's nothing too complex, but that's it really. They're the Duke's bodyguards. I know of them.
How many bodyguards did the Duke have with him at that time?
We don't know. So.
Okay.
No, as far as I know, no one knows why he was here.
Have the victims been moved since the attack?
No, we haven't touched anything.
Steve will go and touch some things. Specifically, we'll take a look and see if we can work out, were they incinerated or just normally stabbed to death?
Absolutely. Why don't you make a cunning test? And because you've got Medicus, I'll give you a +2 on it. How about that? Lovely.
That's a 2.
Well, one of them was stabbed multiple times in the back, and the other one, you kind of turn them over, and their face is black, their tongue is swollen and out, and they have a thick length of wire dug so hard into their neck that kind of everything below there is soaked with blood.
Feckin' assassination. No honor.
Sex with black cloaks.
It's their style, isn't it? Quiet, quick, agile. Sneaky dagger of Prios.
My immediate instinct is maybe this is some kind of attempt at a peace truce negotiation that's gone badly wrong for the Duke.
I think we should be careful about making too many assumptions all at once, though. We don't know why the Duke was here, and we don't know for sure that these were Black Cloaks. And although we have had a day so far with Black Cloaks, we need to be careful about jumping to too many conclusions because we're deep in politics here.
Fucking politics.
This place is a powder keg.
Guardsman, do you know, did any vessels leave here today?
No, sir. It's
We'll
a
need to speak
private,
to some of the locals.
private berth. It's a private berth. The entire place is owned by Blue Moon. And there's no workers here, as you can see.
Where the two bodies, where are they in the room?
They're kind of near this gathering of furniture in the north corner.
Okay. And I'm guessing there's, in crime scene cliche terms, like no sign of a struggle so much. There's not been.
Well, no one said they're looking around the place yet. So
I would like to look around at the things that are not the bodies,
mm-hmm.
And just see if there's any clues of the furniture.
In that case, could I get a vigilant roll from you and anyone else who is doing that?
Oh, I find my vigilant. That is a success.
Okay. Anyone else? I imagine that Ascarai got a success because
Once.
no. Well, then it's only Alindra. Thankfully, Alindra. You find a couple of things looking around the large space, Alindra. Firstly, you find 3 black feathers on the ground. They seem to be have maybe drifted down from an upper window that's open to the air. There is also a burn mark and an arrowhead lodged in the wall to the right inside the smaller doorway.
Okay. How big a burn mark?
About the size of the arrowhead.
Oh, like a flaming arrow.
Maybe, yeah.
I'll point these out to the others. Some feathers from maybe up there. And an arrowhead. Maybe this is how they got in. Does the arrowhead look like it could have been fired in through the window?
No, the way it's lodged, it was probably fired from near the furniture.
From inside, essentially, towards the doorway.
Ascarai, those are raven feathers, by the way.
Okay.
Can you give me a cunning roll for Anton, please, Ascarai?
Yep. That's a pass for 9.
Clearly someone was firing arrows at someone by the door. Ascarai, can you find any tracks?
Yeah, I was thinking, having a look. If that many people came in and out, there must be something, but it might be a bit muddled. I'll take a look.
Mm-hmm. Vigilant roll, please, and obviously you get your fantasy re-rolls.
Pathfinder. Okay, that's a success. 15.
Someone, not a huge amount of time ago, ran and skidded through this doorway. Like, they ran to the doorway and, literally skidded on the ground and then got their footing again and ran off.
Skidded inside the room. From outside.
They kind of were, they looked like they were leaving the room and, threw themselves to one side quite violently, skidded on the ground and then ran off.
Okay.
And obviously, if they go towards an area with more people, then the tracks will become quite difficult to follow. But you can try and follow a little way. It's their tracks.
I'll say it looks like someone was perhaps trying to make an escape. Maybe we can follow them somewhere. I'll try to follow them.
The trail.
Yeah, as far as I can.
Okay.
Steel will kind of peel off and kind of fall in behind Ascarai.
The soldier who kind of showed you in says, do you need us to accompany you, sirs? Or do you want us to stay here? There's about 10 of them.
Are we all going to go follow these tracks, or
I guess at least some people should stay here to guard this.
I'm going to stay here and keep looking around. So take some of the guys if you want to.
It would maybe better to leave them.
Okay.
Might sneak up on somebody.
Yeah, let's us stick together.
It's worth noting that unless you have plans, the vigilant roll revealed all that the vigilant roll is going to reveal in this place.
Okay. I wanted to spend some time looking at the gate, right? You said there was a door that was unlocked and a big door that was broken in some way?
Yes.
Is that broken outwards, inwards? What is that?
No,
look like?
it's broken inwards and just ahead the chicken in the cage off at the pass. If the guard will see you looking at it and said, we had to get in.
This is where you came in and then you unlocked from the inside?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we broke it down.
So this place was sealed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just also wanted to look at this window that the feathers. How high up is that? Like, what does that look like?
It's at the top of the warehouse, so
It's like a skylight type thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Or like it's like like the vertical opposite of the loading bay we had earlier, right? This is an old warehouse. Like it's. I think I described this literally the other week.
Like a crane.
But there isn't anything like that there now. There isn't anything like that there now. It's just like a big barn window up at the top. So
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Maybe leave a couple of guards here and take the rest with us.
Okay. Let's let Ascarai and Steo go on ahead. We'll follow them at a bit of a distance, just so that if they do run into somebody, they get a bit of an element of surprise rather than all of us.
Okay. Okay. So, Ascarai, can you give me? You follow the tracks back to kind of the riverside path, where they immediately become more difficult to see because, for a start, 10 soldiers walked past the other way not so long ago. But they quite quickly swerve off this path and start basically climbing the grassy hillside towards the edge of Barbarian Town. You follow them up there with some reasonable ease, because that is not a path that people often take. It's quite difficult, though. You all have to basically kind of scramble up there. Not difficult enough for a roll. And then you emerge onto a kind of like, it's one of the streets of Barbarian Town, and it's the one on the edge of the hillside that looks over the river. And it's quite full of people. And I would like you to make a vigilant roll at -5 to see if you can pick up the tracks.
Okay. I need 11. I do get 2 go. The second one is exactly 11.
Okay. You basically spot the tracks in among all the others, and you can you start making your way through the streets of Barbarian Town. You're heading in a direction that's kind of sort of basically almost kind of ramblingly eastward. So you're really heading like directly into the heart of Barbarian Town, where it's getting kind of like more and more populous, and there's more and more people around. But you can still just about spot them. Chris.
Before we get too far away from kind of the grassy knoll, are there any kind of street vendors around these parts? Anyone who looks like they've been kind of stood outside for a while?
Yeah, there's loads of people.
So I'll go up to one of the vendors. I assume they're Vajvod.
There'll be Vajvod or Carrot.
Yeah, so I'll start a conversation in Vajvod and go. A person may have come over this hill looking quite hurried. Do you remember seeing anything?
No, there's been so many people all day. I've been busy. I haven't. What are you, city guard?
Not city guard, but something. Concerned citizen. I'll leave it at that. I won't try and bribe him if he sounds earnest enough. If he doesn't volunteer anything else or look like I might be able to buy him, I think I'll move on.
Sure. Yeah, you're moving more into like the heart of Barbarian Town now. Ascarai, can you give me a vigilant roll at -6, please?
Okay. 10 or... Second one is exactly 10.
Okay. Again, it's very difficult to follow these tracks, but you kind of continually manage to find them after a few. Your going is very slow at this point because you're desperately trying to find like the right weight of track, the right look of it, like what kind of like timeline you'd imagine it to look like, which looks to you like, again, you're looking for tracks about a couple of hours old, right? And again, you make some pace, and again, you're heading in a rough easterly direction. And then you reach an area of barbarian town. I can't remember if we've been to it before, but it's the main square of barbarian town. It's literally called Karvosti, presumably a kind of slightly sarcastic nickname for the place. There are a phenomenal amount of people around here, and in order to follow the tracks through Karvosti, hey, that nostalgic. I would like you to make a vigilant roll at -10, please.
Okay, I need less than 6. 6 or less with 2 tries. Guess what the second roll is?
Is it 6?
It is exactly 6.
You find the tracks leading out roughly again towards the east, and you start to head towards there. However, as you are doing that, can you make me another vigilant roll, please? This one can be a +2.
Okay, 18. Yep.
Okay. Nearby, on a kind of just a post at the corner of where this path leads out of the Karvosti kind of plaza, there is a raven. This raven is hopping up and down and cawing and looking directly at you.
That's where I will look at the raven and think back to Castor, where there was an animals following us that turned out to be not quite animals, and we'll point out to Steo at least that raven is not acting like a raven.
The raven alights or lifts off, you know what I mean, takes to the air from the post and flies off a little ways on a different path out of Karvosti, flies off to like the front, like the peak of a thatched roof, and turns around again and looks at you and caws and hops up and down.
I think we should follow the raven.
Yeah, don't like wild goose chases, but this is a raven after all.
The soldier who's with you says, "Follow the raven."
Yeah, look, trust us. It gets weirder than this.
There are tracks.
I'm not going to be able to follow these for much longer. I could barely get through this square. I don't know. This is not. There were raven feathers in the place. This raven, I think we should follow the raven.
If that could be a witch, this could be the people who've taken him.
That's who we're looking for, isn't it?
But leading us into a trap.
Well, there's a lot of us.
No, we're leading a trap into them. Steel will kind of shake the spear reassuringly.
Oh, you gents do what you want. We're going to follow these tracks.
Good luck.
He kind of shakes his head and looks at you as if you're mad, and walks over to his men to explain the situation, and they go to start looking to try to follow the tracks out of that original pathway.
No respect for experience these days. Let's get everyone together and head after the bird.
Yeah.
You are sure about the bird, aren't you?
No, not really. But I'm also feeling like the tracks are getting harder and harder to follow. The chance we can get to the actual destination is pretty slim. The chance this raven is in some way trying to help us is slightly better.
And Tom says, "I do not blame the soldiers. Ravens are often depicted as the messengers of the eternal night. But as you say, aid from surprising winged friends has helped us before.
I think under the circumstances, harbingers of this and the messengers of that may well be exactly what we want. If you're sure, Ascarai.
I think it's worth a shot.
You're
On mute.
You head through the streets. The Raven always staying kind of one step ahead of you. It doesn't take you too long. You kind of go to the north and then weave around again to the east. It does look like the rough kind of direction you would have ended up in from the other way, but you can't be sure. You don't know the precise layout of Barbarian Town, but it's certainly in the same rough general direction. The Raven takes you through these pathways for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before you emerge into a street that on the very kind of like northeasterly edge of Barbarian Town. Beyond the buildings ahead of you is like rolling grasses, fields and hills, moving away eventually towards, you know, depending on your point of view, the very west of the Ravens or the very southeast of Davokar. Among the buildings ahead of you is, do you remember I mentioned that scattered around Barbarian Town are like what look like old Symbaroum or old clanfolk ruins? Well, there is one of these, and quite a well-preserved one. The roof is long gone, but there are remnants of kind of multi-story walls. It also looks to have been, and Tom can mutter this to you for free because he has Lore Master. It looks to have been relatively recently excavated in the last few years, and now it is between 10 and 12 meters tall. The second floor walls are partially collapsed, and as I say, the roof is gone. And it looks kind of like not completely unsafe, but definitely like it's not a coherent building anymore, if you see what I mean. It's definitely a ruin, but quite a well-preserved one. You immediately notice that there are horses tethered outside the gaping entrance, which seems, you know, kind of odd. Can we all make a vigilant +5 test, please? Yep. Well, then all of you notice a tall figure in armor and a tabard with a Templar-style great helm standing at a crack in the western wall of the second floor, looking outwards. You can all also see the Raven kind of soaring overhead, circling over the ruin a couple of times, and then flying off to the east.
Looks like this is our spot.
Is there any kind of livery on the horses that might
No.
indicate who owns them? Okay.
No.
But that the helmed person standing watch.
It's literally you saw this individual with the whip of Prios.
Okay, that's the whip. We're going to need more help. I don't want to go in
The Duke.
killing celebrities.
Whoa. Slow down there. The Duke was going to meet the whip. Maybe he's here.
The Duke was going to meet the whip at the Blue Moon. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I think he probably is here as a hostage of the whip.
Has the whip seen us?
No, I mean, you don't know for sure, but like you are just people on a street. Like, you know, there is a good distance between you and the ruin.
Okay.
There are other people who are just walking around.
Okay.
Hang on. I need to double check for clarity. The figure with the great helm.
Mhm.
Is the figure with the great helm the whip, or is he accompanying the whip?
Okay, we're under a misapprehension that the whip of Prios is a person. The Whip of Prios is an organization.
Got
It's
it.
like it's the it's the SAS of the Twilight Friars. It's
I remember
like
now.
the elite inquisitors of the Black Cloaks.
Of which this person was a prominent member that we saw arriving in the entourage.
We need to get this back to the guards right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree that we're not going in there ourselves. Not without the guards.
Aren't
Someone
we?
need to stay and keep watch.
We don't know where the guards have gone.
Any guards will do.
Can you? Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, after the day that we've had, Aaron, how smart do you think it is for us to go walking into a ruined Symbaric building with a member of the Whip of Prios, having seen and done what we've seen and done today already?
I think that may be the job we were hired for, Linda.
We need to get the information out.
Can you? Let's. I want to have Anton get first stab at this, but then I'll give other people the option. But could you give me a cunning roll for Anton, and let's call it a +3 for like Lawmaster.
Okay. That's a 1. So yes.
In your very educated opinion, Askarai, is there a non-zero possibility that the footsteps we were tracking was Duke Inadar?
Yeah, I suppose so. It's possible.
Then I would posit that the Whip of Prios is currently attempting to run him to ground inside that ruin.
Right, so we could be on the clock. Is the idea.
It is certainly a strong possibility in my mind.
Don't we have to do this thing? This is the job.
I mean, I cannot be certain. But who else would have been fleeing that room?
I mean, it's possible it was another bodyguard, but as you say, it's also very possible it was the Duke.
It was at the very least a witness, and quite possibly the Duke himself. And if there is a possibility that it's the Duke, you're right. If we can't see a city guard right now, then we don't have time.
You cannot on the edge of Barbarian Town, unfortunately. I
The
mean,
Whip-
maybe you could send Revelia to try and get help or something. Maybe.
Yes. I will send
You wanna
Revelia back
balance.
to the where the guards that we were with.
Try and find the soldiers.
Yeah, I'll send her back with a message to point out this building, and just try to get reinforcements. Essentially,
She nods, kind of turns to a nearby clanfolk child who's kind of loitering on the street, thrusts her shield and spear at him, and puts a thaler in his hand and says, "Don't steal these or sell them on, and there'll be more for you." And then runs at top speed, kind of back in the rough direction of where you came from.
It's my bloody spear.
should just take it back.
This one's
I mean-
better.
Taking it back from the child right now sounds like a fun game, but one we do not have time for.
Yeah, let's kill some fucking black cloaks.
Let's go in and
God,
ask some
right.
questions.
You woke up on the wrong side of the bedroll this morning, but I agree. Let's get to work.
Okay, how are we approaching this? And bear in mind that if we want to maintain a sense of, parity to, if we want to maintain suspension of disbelief, we probably can't discuss it very long if we feel that time's a factor.
The mental picture in my head is that we're essentially on the edge of Barbarian Town, right? And
You
then
are.
And then there is open ground
Mm-hmm.
between us and this building.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds to me like we're not likely to be able to approach unseen, and so the thing the best thing that we can do under the circumstances is probably approach as quickly as possible. So I think Alindra is assuming that what we're doing here is a charge.
I could shoot that guy through the window, but
we might need to ask him questions.
Yeah.
He might be friendly.
Yeah.
You could shoot him non-lethally.
It's a tough shot, Aaron. Maybe, but might hit him in the head. No promises.
We need to be inside that building now.
Okay. So are we just are we all just like pegging it towards the ruin then? And is that the idea?
That's the best idea that Alindra has got. I don't know if anybody else has. Well, there was the shoot the guy from across the field. Those are the only ideas, I think.
Clock is ticking, folks. Other opinions, very fast.
Please. From looking straight on it as a very quick glance, there's obviously the front door. Are there any other entrances even up to the first floor?
There seem to be. I mean, there's no entrances to the. What do you mean, like stairs?
I mean, like windows.
Yeah, but you'd have to climb up several meters, kind of stone to get to them. But yes, possibly. As I say that, I realize that Arendar can actually maybe do that. Yes, possibly. But to get to the wall, like, there are other kind of buildings scattered around. You could try and sneak, but Alindra is absolutely right in that there are people clearly watching. It is broad daylight. It would be difficult to get to a position where you could be, hey, maybe with your discreet Arendar.
Here is the
It's not terrible. But no, I will fall in behind our vanguard.
Okay. So is we're just going for it, right? Is there any dissenting opinions on this?
No,
okay.
I think we're out of time. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. Can I have a quick roll from everyone, please? And again, we're going to go with like actually, let me have a quick roll against what is that with a +3. You can all have that, and again, we're going to go for a majority, right? See how we're doing. Can you roll for Anton as well, please, Sam? Thumbs up, thumbs down. It all depends on Sam's rolls.
Anton makes it, Aspire does not.
Still a majority, right? You run across the kind of slightly open pathway between where you're standing and the ruins. As you get closer to them, you can see that there are indeed like multiple. I mean, they're not really entrances. Most of them are parts where the walls fell in centuries ago. But there's kind of like a wider gap that used to be maybe an arch door that's partially crumbled ahead of you. And then there's more scattered around. Are we all going through this central area? You can't hear any hue and cry being raised right now, or are we like splitting up in any way? What's the kind of notion around that? And this may be not something you can really discuss. So maybe we should just... I imagine Alindra is at the front. What is Alindra doing? And then other people can make their minds up based on that.
Alindra is nothing if not direct. She figures that at least someone should go through the front door, and why not her? So yeah, she's going for the most obvious entrance.
Okay. And let's go with who else succeeded on their roles. Steo did. Is Steo following Alindra or trying to go in a different entrance?
Steo has already spent some time today trying to fight around Alindra, so Steo will pick the second most obvious entrance.
So it's like splitting off maybe to the left and just go. There are other like I said, gaps in the wall and stuff quite nearby. So like you split off and go around. And you know what? I'm going to note this down. So we've got main entrance. Alindra is going in. There's no Revelia for once. Let's say there's an entrance to the left that Steo is going in. I believe Anton also made his roll. Sam, make the decision. What do you think? Where do you think Anton is going?
I think he's going to follow. I guess he'd follow Alindra, main entrance.
He's going to follow Alindra, and then let's have Askarai. Where are you going in?
Askarai's going to follow Steo.
Askarai will follow Steo. Arendar following Alindra, following Steo, or going for maybe another entrance to the right entirely, presumably with Farron.
I'll go another entrance to the right entirely.
Okay. So we've got a 3-pronged. We've got the trident, our tried and tested tactic. That we're
2
that we're
tanks
following.
and a wet sock with a cat.
How dare you?
Jesus,
You've got like
Very
Unnecessary.
you've got like 4 HP.
I have 15 HP, and I have a 2/3 chance of successfully defending.
yeah. Didn't we work out that Arendar has more HP than you, Theo?
Okay, in fairness.
He's got
I do have a
acrobatics,
low-
which just makes him the most dangerous of all of us.
Yeah, I also
yeah,
have
double
that.
in fairness.
Only if I come across 2 people. Matt
Yeah.
Matt knows this. Matt keeps throwing one enemy at me at a time.
Lest I remind you, you are the people who mostly decide how to engage people in combat. So what you
This
actually
is me.
mean is I fuck up and blame it on you, Matt. But when that's not news.
What actually happens is it's entirely randomly determined by dice, usually. It's fine. No one's at fault.
Absolutely.
This is my favorite bit of this adventure so far.
Okay. So, all of you kind of emerge into the ruins. Like I said, the roof is gone, so like it's fully lit inside, and you kind of emerge into a relatively sort of open, large space with a second floor above, where the like center of it has collapsed at some point long ago, kind of deep down into some kind of cellar underneath the place. And below you can see down a hole in the kind of ground level as well. You can see a pile of rubble, dare I say, a number of sinkholes. And generally, there's nothing overly remarkable about this place. It doesn't look massively Symbaric in nature. It doesn't look like it has lost secrets and weird monsters. It's a very old, collapsing building. You can't even tell. And Tom can probably tell if it's Symbaric or Clanfolk, but you lot can't, certainly. As you sort of emerge into this space, you kind of surprise 2, or in fact 3 individuals. No, it'll be 2 individuals who are kind of stood looking down into the pit that goes down into the basement. They are both very much black cloaks, and they are kind of peering down. And as you emerge, I got the sense that you weren't going to swing first and ask questions later. That there's some degree of, or are we attacking?
Let me just understand the layout here. We've come through at ground level.
Mm-hmm.
There are places that drop down, and these black cloaks are upper level somewhere.
No, they are ahead of you on the ground floor, looking down into.
Oh, okay.
And
So
there is a floor above you with an even larger hole in the middle of it. But you knew that there was a floor above.
Okay, yeah, so it's come down through. Yeah. Yes, Elintra is minded to ask questions first, stab later. So essentially, she's going to just be like, "We're looking for the Duke."
Okay. The black cloaks ahead of you wheel round, as you might imagine that they might. Arendar, you're on a kind of like it's still the same chamber, but at some point there's been a wall like ahead of you, which like has mostly collapsed, so you can kind of see everything going on. But there is also you can see up on the other side of the second floor, there is another black cloak who was looking out to like the southeast, like the rest of Barbarian Town, and is now kind of like wheeled and is looking down from the that second floor above. You can also see the individual in the great helm who is exactly armored as a Templar, only they're painted in the colors of the Whip of Brios, black, basically. And they're like now stood at the edge. They're actually like directly above and behind where Elindra is, and the others kind of standing looking out there. And obviously directly across from you is like Steel and Ascarai coming the other way. One of the black cloaks in the center kind of like takes you in and lets out a kind of odd, high-pitched, trilling whistle. and at that, within a few seconds, there's some scrambling noises from the basement, and two individuals kind of emerge from that hole. There is another black cloak, and there is the man you saw earlier with the large, kind of like elaborate golden sun mask, who both kind of clamber up and kind of sort of stare at you. There's a momentary pause, and then the Templar kind of above and behind you on the second floor in quite a deep, gravelly woman's voice says, "Father Aldoro." The individual in the sun mask kind of like slowly paces his head around, and behind it, in a very kind of like hollow tone from behind this golden mask, says, "Apostates, kill them all." And I think we will end the session there, folks. If you've got any comments or questions, sling them in chat and we will address them before we close down the stream. In the meantime, let's do a bit of the old promo nonsense. Check below for links to various things, to our social media, to our Patreon, to our Discord, to our merch store, to our different channels, etc., etc., etc. We run a number of things on a weekly or fortnightly basis. Mondays is currently Warhammer and We Deal in Lead, alternating. Wednesdays is, of course, Symbaroum. Thursdays is fortnightly Yellow King. We're having the second stream of that tomorrow night, the 20th of June. We also run one-shots on a semi-regular basis, the most recent of which was Cloud Empress, the next one of which is something, and will probably turn up sometime during June or July. I think that's all. So why don't we get some comments and questions and stuff. Oh, also, thank you to 42 for your resubscribe. We really, really appreciate that. Let's comment thing. Night Bites, but who is Leon Hands? Let's see, I've forgotten what that. At the time I was like her, and now I've forgotten what.
Lay on hands.
Lay on hands. Lay on hands. Yes.
Ban them.
Steve, feels like the group might have unconsciously picked a side. I don't know. They turned in the witch.
I think in that moment we hadn't decided to protect the Green Weaver, but we hadn't decided not to either.
Well, it didn't matter what decisions were made. Askarai said it was Algaia.
Yeah.
It was Algaia.
In fairness, she was very proud about the motivations and that she was proud of the work. So,
yeah,
I think Askarai would have been more tempted to try and protect her if she had helped in any way deal with the Black Cloaks instead of just literally hiding in the ground, hiding in the depth.
Fair. I mean, at least she didn't immediately try to kill us, which is like, that's basically besties in our world.
Yeah. Black Donuts just saying hi. I still need to catch up on all the VODs. Someday I'll be able to catch you live. And on that day, we will all.
If you're watching,
got to catch up on monstrous series, you're probably coming to us from probably the equivalent of Orbit of Alpha Centauri at this stage.
We did have a nice comment from someone today saying like, "Oh, I only just started, and like, you know, hopefully I'll catch up. But I only just started the other day, and I looked on it, and it was on episode 19." So
there are numbers that low.
Well, I think for a lot of people, when they like watch an actual play, they're actually listening to it, right? So like at work or something. You think about it, you can get in a day of work, you can get through a good 3 or 4 of our VODs, right? So
yeah, especially if
I'm just saying, folks, you can do that.
Maybe we should be on
suggestion.
Audio things.
YouTube is just audio with video, isn't it?
So.
What does that mean?
What?
We are on all of our playlists are on podcast on YouTube, which means if you have YouTube music, you can just access it via that.
Okay, that's cool.
But yeah, being on other stuff would obviously be good. But it also does involve work.
We don't like that.
I do not like it. Next, thank you, John. And thank you, Black Donuts. 42. If they planned to kill you, would they have bothered to set out such a nice buffet?
It wasn't us. It was the audience.
I can never mention food again. Fortunately, it's not an integral part of any human culture.
So I was genuinely trying really hard to think of a synonym for buffet, so that I could like conspicuously call it that, and that would be funny, and couldn't. I was just my head was just buffet. That's what it is. It's a buffet. It's a buffet.
A
But
cold
there must
lunch.
be.
I don't know.
My internal thesaurus just failed me, and I forgot that I was like sat in front of a web browser.
Well, one of the immediate, there aren't many, but one of the immediate best suggestions that Google offers me is smorgasbord.
If you'd have
That's
started
Swedish,
off with
right?
that would have been so much worse. If we'd have walked into the first place that had a buffet and you'd have said, "There's a smorgasbord available to you,"
And yet it would have somehow felt more appropriate than buffet.
I would have rolled initiative. I'm going to kill a smorgasbord. It sounds dangerous.
Is smorgasbord Swedish?
I mean,
Or is it just a word that the Swedish
certainly-
chef says a lot because it sounds funny in a Swedish accent?
No,
maybe.
it's a real thing.
It's certainly Scandinavian or German in origin, Germanic in origin. I'd always thought of it as a German word, but I could be completely wrong. It does, now that I think of it, in structure, feel more Scandinavian than Germanic.
What it is a missed opportunity. But
Yes.
now we're stuck with buffet.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Dungeoneering. I just found 17 Thaler in a random corpse. Sorry, but you will have to do better than 20.
Yeah,
It seemed low for rescuing the Duke, didn't it?
I learned to expect rubbish rewards for NPCs after the last adventure.
Although I'm happy to drop, because it is one of the areas that you never really do anything like typically role play person-y, like looting corpses. It's one of the things the group doesn't particularly do. I should point out that you could have negotiated for double that, like in the rules.
Probably should have done.
Next time.
We're really bad at getting paid.
Yeah, but at this point, it's like a character trait. It's like fun.
I think part of our problem is that our like persuasive people are the people least motivated by pay.
True.
Yeah.
I also think I don't know, like looting every single corpse feels a bit murder hobo, a bit Skyrim.
No, I do agree with you. I think it depends on the circumstance. I think there's certainly times you could have done it more though. Like there was like an entire band of bandits who tried to kill you. Like I definitely would loot their bodies. Sort of thing. But I also agree that maybe like if you're working for the city guard, then looting the corpses of the people of the culprits is maybe not circumspect.
I'm looking for evidence.
Yeah. And to be fair, Askari did not say he took money. Askari said he took the sun symbol.
Askari did take
I assumed he meant he was taking the sun symbol as well as the money.
Yeah. I think Askari will at some point share the money around, but there has not been a lull in the action for.
Yeah.
Maybe not in front of the guards.
Did you also take the mysterious elixir?
I don't think so, because I don't think Askari trusts that enough to take it, and I don't know.
Well, could have been an elixir of life in your pocket, but no. So next, please, John.
Can I just interrupt before?
Of course.
That according to Wikipedia, smorgasbord directly translates to open sandwich table and is a buffet-style meal of Swedish origin.
Okay, so it's Swedish.
Another old-fashioned word for it is a cold table. So you could use that one. That's quite it's good.
But now, if I say cold table, it doesn't matter what I say. As soon as I said there's a table, people started grinning. Like
it's their
in Japan, it is referred to as a Viking. Or Vikingo.
I mean, I'm not going to do that, clearly.
There's a Viking in the corner.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, but you just all go, what, a buffet? Like, it doesn't matter.
I like Smorgasbord because for me, it conjures a mental image of a dragon doing a wicked sick kickflip.
Okay. Please tell me there's no context for that.
No, well, okay, so to mispronounce the dragon from the Hobbit,
Smaug on board.
and then a board, as in skateboard. So
Well, we just found out where
him.
Stephen sits on the Smorg Smaug continuum.
no, it's Smaug, but you know, when it's squished into a synonym for buffet,
Fair enough.
take some liberties.
Steve, if something horrible happens to Mike now, this VOD is going to look terribly suspicious. He's fine. I didn't do anything to him.
Can he corroborate that?
We didn't burn him. Next, please. 42. Crow feathers, ergo a crow fired this arrow. Some
Only explanation.
excellent pre-modern crime scene analysis. Yes. Next. The raven means nothing. We're looking for a chicken, preferably in a cage. Yes. Thank you, Steve. Next. Got anything else?
Let's just go for that one. Let's finish on that one.
Aaron is the driest sock around. Why? That sounds. I can't explain why, but that sounds.
That's worse, right?
dirty to me.
I just thought describing Aaron as a wet sock was extremely harsh and unnecessary. And I wanted to defend Aaron and his honor.
This sounds like obscure nofap terminology. Chris is online enough that he got that.
Oh, I wish I did, though.
This has really taken some turns tonight, hasn't it?
And that's the last thing we say on this stream.
Ever.
That's what you wanted to end.
We hope you enjoyed telling tales, folks, but we've peaked. And that's it. And also, I have to answer for Mike's death in a court of law. So we will not. Of course, we will see you next week. Again, to reiterate, Mike is fine. The allegations. Do I need a ukulele for this? So there we go. Thanks for watching, folks. Thanks to my wonderful players. We'll see you tomorrow night for some more Yellow King, or at least me and John and Sam will, and a scattering of other people. And we'll see you next week for more Symbaroum. Thank you. Good night. Take care. Stay safe. All the good stuff.